I would really like to know, out of morbid curiosity, how some of these people function on a daily basis without the use of a helmet. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm back with another video, and not only does this article have the audacity to claim Rings of Power is course correcting, but also the nerve in the same breath to use Tolkien as proof in support of that narrative. The irony is fucking palpable right now, but at any rate, let's just dive into this bullshit so we can just rip it apart. So, here we go. The Lord of the Rings franchise was a massive hit and brought J.R.R. Tolkien's literature to cinematic life. It wasn't perfect, though. Some critics pointed out how predominantly white the trilogy was, with very few roles for women and even fewer people of color. The Prime Video series Rings of Power corrects that, with a diverse cast including women and POC. So, in the same breath, they disparage the cinematic adaptations, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, very much beloved in overall by the Tolkien fandom. And yes, they weren't perfect, because within even the Tolkien fandom, there are critics of the Lord of the Rings films. There always have been. Not everyone likes the liberties Peter Jackson took. Not everyone likes the casting choices and so forth. But that is constructive criticism. You would have to dig really fucking deep, and I mean really fucking deep at all, when those movies were filmed and released to find any fucking critics, pointing out how predominantly white the cast was, because anyone who read the books, knew the characters, would know what the characters are going to look like. So there was no criticism, none whatsoever, about their skin color until fucking recently, with the rise of identity politics, cancel culture, and those who need fainting couches and clutching pearls to get through their daily fucking lives. Then, in the same breath, have the nerve to claim Rings of Power is correcting anything about that. Say you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about without saying you have no idea what the fuck you are talking about. Just alone within the first fucking paragraph. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay spoke with Showbiz Cheat Sheet on August 13th, and cast members appeared on a Television Critics Association panel on August 12th. Blah, blah, blah. Don't fucking care. Alright. Okay. Headline right here. J.R. Tolkien wrote about women and POC in the Lord of the Rings universe. Rings of Power takes place in the Second Age, thousands of years before Frodo Baggins. McKay and Payne drew on Tolkien's appendices, the Silmarillion, and other notations in his writing to discover who else lived in Middle-earth. That is a fucking lie. That is a fucking lie right there in that last sentence. Because why? They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion at fucking all. The only rights they have are to The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the appendices. That's fucking it. And if they're drawing on notations, I want to see those notations, because Garen fucking T it. You look at this series, and you can see the deviation away from how Tolkien created characters, the foundations for Middle-earth, and so forth. Case in point, Galadriel. They're painting her as a warrior elf princess, when the inspiration for the character was the Virgin Mary. How do you get warrior elf princess from that? So here's a quote. Really, we felt like in some ways we were just excavating more of Tolkien. You wanted to tell the story Tolkien never wrote. Literally in your fucking words from months ago. You wanted to tell the story that Tolkien never wrote. It mentions that Harfoots were amongst the branches of halflingdom. They're hobbits. And you also lied about it not being a hobbit story when you're talking about the Rings of Power. When in fact, Harfoots are hobbits. And, two, they're not even mentioned, hobbits, in the Second Age. That's not to say they didn't exist. in the First or Second Ages. They just weren't mentioned in the histories, as per Tolkien. But you're using Tolkien to prove your fucking bullshit. They weren't mentioned. So they wouldn't even be in your fucking show. And yet, but you are excavating more Tolkien. That they were browner skin than some of the other branches. So he said, okay, in diversity, that's already just right there in the text that just hadn't really been depicted before. So you are basically throwing Peter Jackson under the fucking bus right now. Right? And browner skin does not mean black. It just means tanner, ruddy, and so forth. They work the land and everything. It's supposed to be a mythology for England. For England. And sorry, when Tolkien was writing these books, it was vastly white. Alright? Nothing to do with racism or anything like that. But you are using that spin to push a narrative. Clearly, there are women in Middle-earth. No fucking shit, Sherlock. And all the different species. How do you think they fucking bred? We just saw it as really taking stories that were already there that hadn't been told. Yes, because you wanted to tell the story again. Tolkien never wrote because you're such big fans. And using it to add to the splendor and wonder of Middle-earth. No, you wanted to add your vision to Middle-earth. Alright? The whammon of color. Alright? Nazanin Boniadi plays the new character Bronwyn. Yes, a non-canonical character. A non-canonical character because they don't have the rights to anything detailing the Second Age, the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, History of Middle-earth, so forth. They don't have anything. They don't have anything. So basically, because they want to tell the story again, Tolkien never wrote, they're adding their own characters. And she's one of them. Non-canonical. For what reason? Power of the uterus. In Rings of Power, she is a human woman who has a son, Theo, while Cate Blanchett and Liv Tyler played the films Galadriel and Arwen respectively. Boniadi appreciated representing more diversity on the show, because that's what fucking matters. Not faithfulness, not loyalty to the source material, not accurate depictions or anything like that. No, diversity. That's all that fucking matters to these people. They're activists. They're not actors or actresses. They are activists. The critics of the Lord of the Rings films, those so-called critics that are pointing out how white the cast was, they're not critics. They're crit-activists. Nothing about any of these people at all screams critics, actor, or actress. Or even fucking showrunner. Fantasy and myth cushion you into a world where you can comfortably explore your existential longing. What is it to be human? I don't think you even know, sweethearts. If you didn't, you wouldn't say such fucking stupid shit. For me, that's timeless. Whether it was 20 years ago or right now, it's applicable. And I love that each of us as actors, we inject a role with our own essence, our own unique essence, basically. I love that we come from these different backgrounds, and much like the fellowship you see on screen, we get to sort of explore that together. It's timeless, it's universal. All these themes we kind of embody, and we're archetypes. Our characters are archetypes of the most basic human dilemmas. And that's timeless. That's what resonates with me. What should resonate is Middle-earth. What should resonate is Tolkien. That's what should resonate. And the Latinx elf. Ishmael Cruz Cordova plays another new character. Arondir is an elf, unlike the ones we saw in the Elven Council. Why? Again, tokenism. Tokenism. No, it doesn't matter that Tolkien described the elves, specifically how they look, where they come from, and so forth, how they came into being. Never mind that. No, we need representation. We also need a fucking forbidden romance in the Rings of Power, because why the fuck not? And where the fuck is a barber in Middle-earth? By the power of Iluvatar's fade, pretty much. Jesus, look at this. We are such a large cast and we've become a community and family, but we come from such different backgrounds, Cordova said, yet you find a little home in Tolkien. I grew up in Puerto Rico, grew up in houses with mud floors, and experienced so many hardships in my life. Look, you pulled yourself up from those living conditions, from that, to be an actor. More power to you. More fucking power to you. And yes, it didn't matter your background, because if you saw yourself at least deeper within your personality in Tolkien, if you love the world and things like that, then fine, more power to you. God fucking speed. But don't try to push this narrative. Don't try to push this narrative as if this series is course correcting anything. It's not. And every time I saw Tolkien, because I saved all my money to buy my first DVD was The Lord of the Rings, I felt myself in there. No one said you couldn't. No one ever fucking said you couldn't. Cordova did note the lack of people of color in the films. For him, the cast of The Rings of Power is monumental, yes, because all that fucking matters is skin color and the biological sex, yes. So stunning, so fucking brave right now. When I first saw the movies, which were so influential, as I said before, I felt spiritually represented there, but perhaps not the image. If you are at all a well-rounded human being, the image means fucking nothing. The image means fucking nothing. You love the characters as they are. You love the world as it is. You don't sit there and say that you felt spiritually represented, but I can't see myself. If you can't see yourself because those characters aren't the same skin color as you, then you are the fucking most shallow person in existence. Cordova said, what this show does is that it takes advantage of all of that richness that he wrote and brings us to this show. Brings us present there. I always say if you can see it, you can imagine. No, this is so fucking stupid. I always say if you can see it, you can imagine it, and if you can imagine it, you can create it. You imagine shit first, you dickhead. You imagine it, then you see it, then you fucking create it. You can't fucking see or create anything unless you fucking imagine it first. If you can see it, you don't need to create it because it's already fucking there. Now that we're here, a new generation will be able to create their image based on what we're putting on screen for the first time with this franchise. You're ruining a new generation is what you're fucking doing. But here it is. There it is. There it is. There it fucking is. There's the spin yet fucking again. And they're trying to use Tolkien in support of this spin. You can't make this shit up. You really can't make this shit up. But at any rate, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Do you agree with this approach? Do you disagree with it? What are your thoughts on the Rings of Power yet again? And also again, I am planning on watching them. I'm not saying how I'm going to watch this series, but I'm going to watch it because word has to get out, because they're gaslighting on social media to high heaven. They're disparaging Tolkien yet again, or they're trying to use him to push this narrative. It's a mess. It's a fucking mess right now. Right now. And word has to get out there. Word has to get out there that this is not Tolkien. No matter how you try to spin it, no matter how you try to use the author in support of whatever agenda you have, this is not Tolkien. This is not Middle-earth. This is not his creation. None of this at all smacks of what Tolkien created. But that's just my humble opinion. So, I'll be watching this series. I'll be letting my thoughts be known, and I will be letting my thoughts be known out there about how much of a travesty, deviation, and sheer bastardization of Tolkien's works this series is. So look for my thoughts on that, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, share on social media if you will. I will be live later on Twitch, Jade_Fire. Hopefully, fingers crossed, playing some Master Chief Collection, some custom multiplayer with some friends of mine. So tune in for that about 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Look for more videos later on in the week. Look for my live streams on Twitch and live streams on YouTube, both on my main channel here and on my new live channel where I will be re-uploading programs or streams that I do on my main channel, as well as a solo live stream I plan to do most every Friday, scheduled depending, where I just give my thoughts on pop culture and cringe of the week. So tune in for that all throughout the week. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. This is Mario Jade. Catch you on the dark side. And I really want to throw this series into the fires of Mount Doom.